Hello and welcome to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. Yesterday we got our character falling into pits. What up, K-Tron? How's it going, dude? Which is cool. There is a bug where he keeps losing health because of a bug we did. So we need to fix that, but we also need to fix... I liked when you could trigger the gravity, but then you can fight your way out of it. So I think instead of triggering a fall right when we're in that pit proximity, I think we're gonna add a little timer, like for any time that we're in the pit proximity, which is like the 4 pixels of being totally in the center of the pit. I think we add a little counter, and it's not until that counter gets set to like 1 second total that we then trigger our fall, both the animation and the dot falling. So let's see if we can figure that out. I'll give K-Tron some money here so he can bet some more. I need to make a button that is like give everybody in chat 1,000 instead of the 30 here. I could do it. I could do it like this: currency, add all, 500. Booyah! Shoot, you make me want to do it, man. Now I want to do it. I'll do my 500 too, as I add slots to my game instead of chat here. There we go. Okay, so I think we need to add a timer to this, and just like that, 500 gone. That's okay. Let's see where we're triggering this proximity thing. Pit proximity fall is what we call it, and we do it right here. So I think, dude, hey, congrats. Congrats, that's huge. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. Don't spend it all in one place as you gamble it away in the next 5 minutes. So the thing is, we do have to reset this timer upon something so that it would be reset to 0, right? So like if we have a counter that says 106 tomorrow. What's 106? Oh, holy crap. Dude, that's rough. That's like how much Celsius my CPU temps were the other day. Dude, that's wild. Yeah, it is not that hot over here. We had like 2 crazy hot days in June, but overall this July has been pretty tame. Yeah. Dude, I always I heard good things about Montana. But I know you're trying to move, right? You're trying to go over to Oregon? Okay, I'm kind of thinking we can give our player a field that we then increment here. Because we would move this falling in graveyard. Oh, see, this is just really jacked up. Yeah, you'll make it happen eventually, dude. That's a big, or I guess it's not too big of a move, yeah. Because you're kind of just going over a couple states, right? That's not too bad. But yeah, I know with family and all that stuff, it gets more complicated than that, but yeah. This is weird that we're assigning us to be the graveyard here. If we're falling, that shouldn't be the case. Why are we assigning us? I'm gonna print up our X and Y location upon us falling and see if it gets moved to the graveyard right away. No, it does not. Okay. So I'm a little confused how this is working. Because this is just saying if we are inside of any pit, then go ahead and become falling. But we're changing our graveyard to be true here, which I would think would move us as soon as we get triggered falling. I'm going to see if taking out the graveyard changes anything here. That is weird. But yeah, that looks more right. I don't know why that... Yeah, we shouldn't change the graveyard here. We should train... but then where are we becoming graveyard? That is so weird. Are we not even using that anywhere? We're literally not using it anywhere at the moment. So... where do we give ourselves? Right, oh, right here. Okay. So I think we need to do... Yeah, we turned this... This used to be our... If our player is in a graveyard, then go ahead and move our position. We are not doing that at the moment. So either we get rid of it or we call it something else. Like we can say... what we could do is put this in here and say, okay, if falling is played more than once, then that's when our player gets sent to the graveyard. And we could reset the falling animation equal to 0. And then maybe... At least now we might be using the graveyard. And then here we can say if we're in the graveyard. Then go ahead, and that's when we move our X and Y position to be where the graveyard is. And then yeah, it gets a little tricky because the falling is what determines that our directional input has no effect on our placement, but it's not until we're done falling that we get actually moved. But we do want to do this thing. We don't want to limit our X and Y input upon just falling, because we want to be able to make our way out of the pit, which means if we are a little more lenient before we trigger the falling getting true, then we can possibly escape. So I think here we can say, you know what, if we are if we're in the pit proximity fall, that doesn't automatically trigger a scene fall or a player fall. But what it does do is it will increment our .player's fall danger timer, or like fall timer maybe. So fall timer gets the player's fall timer plus delta time. So that fall timer will increment anytime we're within that proximity fall. And then we can say, outside of that loop, we can say, okay, well now if our player's fall timer is greater than 1 second, meaning it's been in the proximity of a fall for 1 second, then we go ahead and trigger the falling as well as the animation of falling. And then if we're done falling, then we move to the graveyard. That's looking a little more right. And we do have this in each and every pit, which is unnecessary. We should be able to put it right here outside of all the pit logic. But we need this part in the pit logic because this v.x and v.y is the individual pit. Now we could call this for k pits. Before I change that, like we're changing a lot, and we could be totally off in our implementation, so I don't want to change everything too much. What I do need to do is initialize this fall timer on our player class to be equal to 0 upon initialization. And then we also need to, so we'll say self.fallTimer gets 0 initialized. And then we also need to, if we're not colliding with any pits, then we reset our timer to 0. So we can say if we collide, we can't do it here. We can't do it here because it's multiple pits, and if we assign it to flush, if we're not colliding with a pit, then by the time we're not colliding with the second pit, it would flush it, which is incorrect. So we need to think about how we're going to pull that off. If we could have a I don't know. We could just cycle through all of our pits, and anytime we have collided with any pit, this is tough. I don't know. I was gonna say we just increment a count for every pit we're colliding with, but then, every 60, if it runs 60 times a second, that would become 60 over 1 second. So it's not pits total, it's pits per frame. So it's it becomes trickier. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to reset our fall timer to 0 if we're not colliding with any pits. So I guess what we could do is every frame we're going to be cycling through our pits, and we have a local pit count right here, counting to 0. And anytime we collide with a pit, we say pit count gets pit count plus 1 to increment our pit count. Then at the end of cycling through all of our pits, we would say, we don't have access to this pit count. So maybe we make this, maybe we do local pit count outside of the pits. We increment it inside the loop. Then when we're done counting how many pits we are actually colliding with, if our pit count is equal to or greater than 1, well, I guess since we want to flush our fall timer if we're not colliding, then we would say if our pit count is equal to 0, meaning there was no collisions, then go ahead and flush our scene view player dot fall timer to be equal to 0. And then and then if our fall timer is greater than 1, we're going to change to animating, and then let's go ahead and reset our fall timer here anyway. Actually, it doesn't matter because we won't be colliding with the pit once we're in the graveyard, so that would be redundant. Let's see if that changes anything. Of course, 197, we're crashing. We have to set this equal to 0, not check for equality with 0, so get rid of that. Okay, let's see. We should hopefully be able to escape the pit. Oh my gosh, now do we fall? We do. So we just need to tweak this timer. Oh, and first thing I actually want to do, like that looks like it actually solved exactly what I wanted to do, but we should verify that by printing up on screen. And I think today we'll also try to fix the console debugging that I was missing on Windows. On Mac it works straight out of the box, but Windows I have not figured it out yet, so maybe we could figure that out. So I do want to say, I don't want this animatables anymore, but I do want to say fall timer is what we want to print right here, and we're going to say that our scene view.player.fallTimer is what value gets put right there. And now we can see fall timer should be 0, which it is, unless we interact with the center of the pit. So it does see, anytime that was increasing at the beginning of today, that would trigger the actual fall, but now we can actually escape, and then it resets our fall timer. So we do have, if we look at how long it takes us to escape, it takes us about 0.2, 0.35, or 0.38 that was. That took 0.43. Now we don't want to guarantee an escape, so I'm just trying to get like an average. And then it hits 1 second and then we died. But I want to kind of get a feel for the average escape time if we hold another input after being fallen in, and it looks like if we do maybe a 0.3 to trigger, oh my god, yeah, see, because that should have been a fall. And yeah, let's do a 0.3 instead of a 1. So right here, and instead of a magic number here, we probably should go to our constants and add in a fall timer threshold or something. And we're going to give it a 0.3 so that we can put the fall timer threshold here. And then now we should be able to escape, but also if I'm just going to try to walk straight in and see if we fall like right off the bat. See, like it gave it like a second, right? Like he stood on top of the hole before he fell. Yeah, it's like coyote time right there. So maybe we do change it to be a bit faster. Because walking straight into the pit should be a little faster than that. So now that we've got that fall timer threshold, we can and you know what? I think there's a way. I think in NeoVim I can just do GD and go to the definition. That's so nice. Let's try 0.2. Let's see. So if we walk straight in, it should be pretty responsive, but we should also be able to escape. That looked okay, but I'm going to try to walk straight in there and see again if that's too much coyote time. Let's see if we just get pulled in. Yeah, we get pulled to the center, then we pause, and then we fall. So maybe the move is we can make our proximity fall a bit bigger so that when we slowly get pulled in, we increment our fall timer more frames, but that'll probably throw off. I'm going to try it. I'm going to increase our pit threshold or whatever, which is what I'm calling, instead of like this pit threshold is taking the top left of our pit and the top left of our player and calculating the difference in pixels from those two positions. So since we give it a 1 instead of a 0, it gives us a 1 pixel tolerance in every direction from the origin point before it starts incrementing this fall timer. So I just changed it to 2. So now we should have a 4 pixel radius, which would speed it up a bit. That did look a bit smoother, like but I'm curious if we're able to escape anymore. Let's see if we can escape. Oh, just can't escape. I mean, in Link's Awakening, I can't reliably escape. So if I can kind of escape every once in a while, yeah. Let's up our threshold back to 0.3, but keep our proximity fall at a 2 and see if we can escape with this. Oof, not quite. And for right now, I think instead of sending us to the graveyard, I think I'm gonna send us like just off to the in a safe spot in the middle, so that I don't have to rerun the game every time, right? So let's see, graveyard, and we can say right here, instead of setting us over here, let's set us to we will set us equal to maybe 200 on the X and 0 on the Y, just at the very top of the screen, but 200 pixels over. So now when we fall, we should be... Oh, I was able to escape that time. Oh. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, we're able to escape, but let's see. Yep. Oh, that's looking sweet. That totally jacked up our respawn, though. We could have... Oh, if we're... Let's see, how many pixels off are we from... And you know what, we can change so that we spawn where the pits are. So there's 4 tiles, so 4 times 16 is a bigger number than I can count. What, 64? So if we go to 64 on our X, and then also in our player spawn, I'm just gonna put us 1 scene lower so we don't have to walk to the pits to test it, and then we'll see. Oh my, we spawn right in there. Oh no. We should have spawned... Oh lordy. That's not nice. Let's put us to the right another sprite before we get in a fight. I just might. Okay. So 76? Shit. Okay, this is actually... Okay, this is just upon when we die, so that is the wrong thing. Where do we instantiate our player? I keep typing the wrong thing. There we go. Really? Okay. So yeah, we assign our X and Y right here, so let's just give us a different Y position so that we don't spawn in the hole. Okay. So now let's see, upon a graveyard we should... Okay, yeah. We do get... Oh god. Okay, yeah, we do get moved. Okay. So we probably need to just not render us at all if we're in the graveyard. But also, we keep losing health because we did this thing called Safe from Fall. Now, I'm not really remembering why I called it that. But if we look at what we do when we implement it, we say, if we are safe from fall, increment our safe counter, and then if our safe counter is greater than 3, we are no longer safe from fall. So let's see what else we're doing safe from fall for. Okay, so if we are not safe from a fall, we can fall into a pit. But is that the only time we're using it? Oops. Okay, yeah, okay. So this is what we're doing. If we're not safe from a fall, then play hurt. Okay, so this is jacked up. Well, okay. So basically we're saying if we're in the graveyard, go ahead and get hurt and take away your health. And then become safe from a fall. Now, when we're safe from a fall, we can't fall into another pit, but we're not even near a pit, so I don't see why we need this. But also, if we're in the graveyard, we become safe from a fall. So why are we decrementing our health? We must be setting safe from fall to true somewhere. This is weird. I don't like that we did this. We don't set it equal to true. Do we? Oh, we do right here. If we're in the graveyard, we set it. Oh. If we are not safe from a fall. Okay, then we become safe from a fall. So what I'm gonna do is just print up if we're safe from a fall. I don't like that wording. We should change that. So let me see the falling debug, how low it is. Yeah, we probably need, you know what, I'm gonna say that safe from fall. Safe from fall. We're gonna put right here. Okay. So we are not safe from a fall, so we can fall. And then once we die, we're just, yeah, safe from a fall. What the heck? Okay, so we're like flashing safe from a fall being false somewhere. It's gotta be in the increment here. So if we're safe from a fall, we're gonna go ahead and increment our counter. Yeah, this is really jacked. We only want to do this if we're also in the graveyard. Because what we're doing here is saying we're no longer safe from a fall. Wait. We start and we're safe from a fall. No. Yeah, we should be false. This, see, I don't like that naming. Yeah. So safe from a fall is false. That means you can fall. And then we respawn. For 3 seconds, it's true. And then we stay true. That's weird. So it's screwing up whenever we become safe from fall true, which is right here. If we're in the graveyard, then we're gonna set our position. We're gonna, yeah, we don't want to set this to true here just based on the graveyard, but we want to do this. We want to set, this is weird. Yeah, we want to set You know what? I don't even know why we're doing this safe from fall, because I don't know why we're doing safe from fall, to be honest. I think it was, I think it's to only play the sound once and everything. Once we're in the graveyard. So it's like, it's just a way for us to kind of time out the limbo time of us dying, us losing health, and us being in the graveyard until we spawn again. So the safe from fall is like, it maybe should be called safe from fall damage or something. But if we are in the graveyard, we're saying we are safe from a fall. But we're being set to safe from a fall false upon certain stuff. And I'm not sure what that certain stuff is. Oh, it's right here. If the safe counter is greater than 3, we are no longer safe from a fall. So I'm just going to take this out and see where that gives us, because we should respawn us there instead. So let's see. We're falling. We fall. We lose our health. We go to the graveyard and we stop losing our health. Now we can't update our position because we're in the graveyard. We should probably stop rendering us because we're in the graveyard. But we need to respawn us after a certain amount of time has passed. So we do have this safe counter, which is like how long we've been in the graveyard. So maybe we call safe counter instead of safe counter. Maybe we call this graveyard timer, so that we can count how long we've been in the graveyard. So now we've got a graveyard timer, and then if we've been in the graveyard for longer than 2 seconds, we're going to flush our graveyard timer and then ultimately reset our position. So if we go back, I mean, let's see, we don't crash. Okay. So can we escape the fall? Yes, we can. We can escape the fall, and then if we get pulled in, it looks pretty smooth. Okay, we do crash upon a global graveyard timer because we don't declare it anywhere. We're just trying to increment it here. So we should start our graveyard timer at least where we're doing like this. Local graveyard timer gets 0. We should not crash now when we fall right in. Okay, so like it still plays the falling animation twice, and I'm not sure why, but we would be in the graveyard at that point, because as soon as we're done, yeah, it shouldn't play it shouldn't play it again, but also we're gonna be not rendering us. So I guess I'm kind of, I guess it depends. Oh, okay. We should just, for now, we'll just become out of the graveyard if our graveyard timer is greater than 3. Right? So we'll say, you know what? Our player is now no longer in the graveyard, so that we can at least walk around again after a fall. So we fall in, we respawn, we're in the graveyard until we're not, and we can walk around again. Okay. So if we oh, that's weird. We're not triggering. Are we safe from a fall? We are. Okay, so let's become safe from fall false also here. After a graveyard greater than 2. So let's see. We fall. We're in the graveyard. We can't move, and then we can, and then we get pulled in again. We can escape, or we can fall. Oh, wow, that was wrong. What the heck? Let's see what we're not falling. We're not falling. We're not even falling. Okay, so something's going wrong in our falling trigger. I'm not even seeing where we do it. It's in the map, right? Under the pit collision detection. And I don't even see where we're setting it. We don't even set, let's see. We don't even set our falling to be true anymore. Yeah, we just don't. When did we get rid of that? Like, if we're greater than the fall timer threshold, then we need to set our fall to actually be falling. Or falling to be true, rather. And then we are falling, and then when we get out of the once our graveyard timer is passed, we should become no longer falling. Or shoot, I mean, yeah, as soon as we move to the graveyard, we should become not falling. It flashes us, like we flashed for some reason. Which I am not sure what's being caused by that. But I'm kind of thinking we need to just rehaul how we're changing to a falling animation, because I think we need to be only changing to this animation if we are falling. Like, change it based on if we're falling. Instead of changing both of these things, because I feel like we do a change animation to falling in a couple spots when all we should really be doing is triggering our dot falling. Because yeah, we change it. Well, I guess it's only right there. Okay, well, it doesn't make sense why we flash. I don't get why we flash on the second fall. That one looks fine. You know what we need to do? We're actually getting our last frame. We're getting our last, yeah, that's exactly what's happening is we exported an empty frame here yesterday, and then we changed our animation class to consider this frame to be the last frame, or the times played being equal to 1 upon reaching this frame. And then when it goes back to falling, it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to resume the falling animation. So since we're not at the last frame of our list of frames, we're going to change to this frame, which is empty, and that's why we're flashing. So I think if we just get rid of this empty thing at the end, canvas size, and we go to 160, and then we move, oh lordy, should be able to move this back, and we cut it off. Okay, let's move this, and then change our canvas size to be 160. It's still jacked up that's okay. Okay, so that's our falling animation. Now we will save as a falling sheet PNG, and then now as long as we go into our entity defs and make sure we only have frames 1 through 10, we shouldn't be flashing on that second fall anymore. So we fall once, we trigger it. Ignore me being stuck because we're still working out the graveyard. But now when we fall again, shit, man, we still flash. I thought for sure that would fix it. What the flip? What the? Okay. Yep, I need to rehaul some stuff. So, I don't know. We need to kind of like segment all of this logic and make sure we're not doing things more than once. So it's like we've got, at least right here in the map, we've got if we're in a graveyard logic, we've got if we've cycled through all our fallen animations logic, we've got if our fall timer is greater than the threshold logic, and then we've got our hit count logic to set our fall timer. So I think if we go like one step at a time and make sure that this stuff doesn't interfere with anything, we can start to debug it, because I think most of the logic for this is just right here. So we can call this fall timer flush, and then we can call this falling trigger, and then we can call this graveyard trigger, and then we can call this graveyard logic, which is, you know what, we should do this upon the trigger to the graveyard, not in here anyway. So if we're falling, we're gonna go ahead, reset our times played to 0. We should probably reset our current frame to 1 while we're at it. And then if we're not safe from a fall, then go ahead and play the hurt sound. And then we should, I mean, like, why wouldn't we also just move us here? I don't know. I feel like it kind of makes sense to just move us here. And then if we're in the graveyard, then we can do the graveyard timer logic right here, which I don't know where that logic is currently residing. Where is graveyard timer? It's in our player class. Okay. And if we could leave it there. But if we're safe from a fall, why if we're safe from a fall? It should be if we're in a graveyard. So I'm just gonna get rid of this from our player class. We do initialize .graveyard to be false, but in our map here, I think I want to say right here, I think I want to say, yeah, if we're in the graveyard, then go ahead and just increment our graveyard timer. If we've been in the graveyard more than 2 seconds, we're no longer safe from a fall. We're no longer in the graveyard, and we reset our graveyard timer. Now, since we flush our times played to 0 as soon as we finish playing, we should only count this once, so we shouldn't even need to check if we're safe from a fall or not. I don't think I mean, let me see if it flashes anymore. Let's see. Okay. Well, it would help if I spelled animations wrong. Graveyard timer, nil value. Yeah, you're right, because we put it in our player class. See, I don't like putting this like player logic into the map class like this. So refactor is in the future, I'm sure, but what the that is so jacked. Okay, I think we do need to put our safe from fall back. I don't know where. What the heck, man? Yeah, I think I'm getting too bogged down in some weird stuff. So like I feel like we need to remove safe from fall and then see where that leaves us. Because right now we aren't doing safe from fall anywhere. So I think if we just remove all our safe from fall, I can kind of get a better idea about what the hell I might have been trying to do with that. I think it was a ghetto fix to be like, okay, well, we'll just trigger safe from fall. See, like, why is that happening? I'm pretty sure that's the reason. I mean, I remember that happening, and I think safe from fall was the fix. But I don't get why we're like teleporting over there. Because we're moving our position. It's clear we're moving our position because we keep like flashing up to the top there. But why do we keep moving to the pit? What the heck, dude? What? I don't know what to even print to kind of debug that, because we know we're falling. We just don't know why. Like, let me see what our player X and Y position is. Like, do we keep changing? Yeah. Why is our X and Y getting reset to where we were just falling from, even though we just moved? It doesn't make any sense to me. Especially because we move our player when we trigger a graveyard, yeah. But then we get reset to where the collision was for some reason. Let me just see. If we say, if we're in the graveyard, then why don't you just still assign our player to the graveyard real quick? Like, does that... Okay, I mean, that fixes the teleporting thing, but it still gets us stuck in an endless falling. So why would falling get triggered to true there? Oh, we might need to reset our fall timer upon a death. So let's just do that. Or not a death, but upon a fall. So if we fall, cool. Let's also reset our fall timer. and then we'll take out our initial graveyard thing here, and we'll just keep it only in one spot right here. Okay. Now, what's our fall timer? Yeah, our fall timer is still decrementing. So where are we doing that? Oh, lordy. Okay, fall timer. We're incrementing it here. Okay, so we're doing this if we collide with a pit. Is that the only time we're incrementing fall timer? Because if that's the only place, then I don't get why it's incrementing. We reset it to 0. We reset it to 0. We initialize it to 0. That's commented out. So the only time we're incrementing it is here upon a collision with a pit. So fall timer incrementing is a result of a collision with a pit, but we're nowhere near a pit. But we were just getting an issue where we were like spawning into a pit over and over. So it might be confused somewhere. Either about our pit's location or... What? Yeah, I don't get why it's so adamant that we're colliding with a pit still. So like, maybe we can print up, well... Yeah, we flush it if we're not colliding with any pits, but then we're somehow, like if we did a global count here, like if we just did test number gets test number plus 1, and we initialize this to 0. And then we print up this global in our debugging. Okay, so anytime we collide with a pit, I want to say, actually, anytime we collide with a pit and actually, yeah, anytime we collide with a pit, I just want to increase this test number. Hold on one sec, Katron. I'm gonna... Yeah, so like, look at this. We're only incrementing test number if we collide with the pit, and it's incrementing this whole time. So we're somehow colliding with the pit right now, even though our X and Y position is nowhere near the pit. Is there some sort of counter that resets to 0 that shouldn't, and that's why it's looping? I think, I mean, I actually have no idea what's going on with that. It thinks we're colliding with a pit, even though our pit is nowhere near that. So if we look at our test number print up when we're incrementing it, right here, we cycle through the self.pits, and self.pits is the amount of pits that are in our map. So in this case, there's 2 pits. We cycle through and we check if each one... Oh, we might need to flush... Oh. Yeah, the collide isn't getting flushed. We need to flush our pit collide if we've triggered a fall. But we don't have access to which pit is colliding. We just have if any pit is colliding. So like we have if by the time we trigger the graveyard, like right here, we need to go and flush the collide for that pit to be false, because we're leaving it to true. So we need to go and set, we can say it, you know, if we've triggered a graveyard, then we need to go actually cycle through all of our pits, and we need to change each and every one of them collide to be equal to false, and then I think it would actually fix it. Well, we could, if we print up, yeah, see how collide is still true on our pits. So we're not doing this right. For key value in pairs of self pits, go ahead and set each value's dot collide to be equal to false, yet our pits are still collide to true. So there's so much junk on the screen. I gotta clear the test number here at least. But even so, like, I thought that test number wouldn't be incrementing because I didn't think we were colliding with a pit, but we are. So we print up our pits right here. Okay, so now it should be easier to read. See how we're not colliding with the first pit, right? Until we are. And then if we... Oh! Dude, why did that one work? We're still in the graveyard, like, indefinitely. Why did... That was weird. The only difference was I was doing inputs while we were colliding, so, like, I'm gonna not do an input. Yeah, and then we get stuck colliding. And what's weird is I see it flashing to false, but we get reset to true. So it's not that we're not flushing it, it's that we're resetting it to be collide.true, which is strange. Yeah, I don't think anything's wrong with this collide set, but clearly something's wrong. Like, this is just standard AABB collision detection, but maybe we should have put this into a function instead of a field. Because a field is kind of weird, because we don't want the quality of the collision to live in the object. We just want to run the function and check if we're colliding and then do something based on the result of the function. So maybe we change this into a function and get rid of the dot collides, and then we just run a hit collides with a player function instead of this field-based assignment. So let's consider writing a function called, it's for our pit, and it's called collide. Let me see. Let's go find any self.collide or .collide and see. Yeah, we're just okay. So if we live out the pseudocode that would be here, we don't want to check if the pit itself is colliding, but we would want to run the collide function. So we would say v collide, and we would pass it in a self dot or a scene view dot player dot, or just a dot player, because a dot player has an x and y. So we'd run it like this. So I'm just gonna leave a to do here. So we know our collide function needs to run with an argument of a player with an x and a y. So we can say that this takes in a parameter called player, and that player will have a .x. So now we can take the logic and we can run logic based on the parameter. So anytime we mention scene view dot, we'd want to replace that with nothing. That didn't work. And player.x plus player.width. So now we need to return true and false. This does make more sense. Like, I don't know why I thought we should save collide as a field in the pit, which is just strange. But now, instead of self-collide, you know, we don't want a self-collide field. We just want to return true if we are in fact colliding with the player. So we will say return true, and I've got, do I have my Python screwing me up? Yeah. Python, you gotta capitalize true and false, so that's what was screwing me. Okay. We're gonna return false if we're not colliding. So now when we run this function, we no longer do anything in the pit update, which we don't need a pit update because the pit doesn't update. But now we've got a function called collide that takes in a player, and it returns true if we are colliding with that player, false if we are not. So now when we go back to our to-do here, instead of saying if v collide, we would say, or instead of saying if v dot collide, we would say if v collide. Then go ahead and do this thing. And then, that looks right. So it's like the same idea, it's just that we're not storing a variable, we're just calculating it here. We're just, what's it called? Evaluating it here once instead of storing it. What up, Magnetonics? How's it going, dude? So we need to check any other dot collide and make sure that, you know, this is what we just added. So we don't need this anymore because we don't have that field. But we do need to find any other dot collide and make sure we're running the function version of it, which it looks like we are. So yeah, if we do a dot collide, we do, okay. So all we need to do is take out our pit render because we don't have anything to render, and then maybe it'll work now. What is going on? Why are we detecting a collision with our pit right now. Because we don't even have the .collide is false, so it's just that this is returning true when we get reset for some reason. So our let's see our fall timer and see if that is jacked up. Fall timer is incrementing and incrementing and incrementing. So let's see where we're doing that. We increment it right here if we are within a pit proximity fall. Let's only do this if we are colliding with a pit, which we are. Oh, yeah, we are. If we're colliding with a pit, then go ahead and increment this. So something is just, you know what? Let me try any other pit, right? And see if it's still doing this. Yeah. Let's try the other pit down here. Okay, and it sent us to the same graveyard. So falling is getting set to true and false. So it's like, where are we doing the hurt sound? We're doing it... What the heck? We don't have safe from fall anymore, right? Graveyard trigger. Yeah, okay. I don't think we use this safe from fall anymore. Oh my god, we do still use it. So that's where we were just looking at. We've got this tween value. Okay, so it looks like we added playing League Swarm with a friend, so just stopping by. Well, yeah, dude, thanks for stopping in. I always appreciate when you come say hi. Okay, so it looks like safe from fall is what we implemented to fix our tween values. So it's like, if we don't have this, if we just do our tween instead of doing our safe from fall, look what happens. Nothing. So maybe that wasn't the issue. So let's do our safe from fall. I'm gonna get rid of that because I don't even know what that means. Safe from fall. Okay, so we're just gonna decrement our health and play the hurt sound if our animation has played all the way through, our falling animation. So that means if we're triggering falling more than we should, we re-die faster than we should. So where are we controlling the change animation to falling, which is right here. If our fall timer gets incremented and we only increment our fall timer, it all comes down to the fall timer. But we're only... Okay, dude, this is so weird. Because all we're doing... Yeah, we only trigger a fall with this fall timer, right? Because if we comment it out, we should never actually fall. Yeah. We get stuck in the pit, but we can get out, but we don't actually fall. Because the fall timer was never incremented. But when we increment our fall timer and that triggers a fall, we need to reset our fall timer, which we do. The fall timer is only triggered if we're inside of a pit, inside of a collision of a pit with our player. and we're in the proximity fall for that pit. So unless we screwed this up, this is calculating the difference between our pit's X and our player's X and seeing if that value is smaller than a small value. So like our proximity fall right now is like 2. So we'd have to be within 2 pixels from a pit for this fall timer to be incremented. So why are we incrementing it? Now, we move our player, I guess it depends on if we're doing this calculation. Gosh, I mean, if we're accidentally moving our player, wow, yeah, I don't see any place where we might be incorrectly moving our player, because we don't have that many lines before it in our update. So let's see. Okay, you know what? I mean, I don't know why it's happening, so it's hard to fix it. Like, we could just do a if graveyard, you know, make sure. Actually, yeah, I don't know what that would have to do with it, because for whatever reason, this collide with a player is returning true, even though our position and our pit's position are nowhere near one another. Because yeah, I bet if we were to trigger, since this falling keeps getting triggered to false, it means, yeah, that we're falling all the way through. So maybe we've got to change, yeah, I think we just got to change our animation here. Because we just don't change our animation, so it thinks we're falling. Yeah. I think if we print up, yeah, what animation we're at, I bet it's always falling. So like, let's just try, if we trigger a graveyard, then let's just go ahead and change, because one weird thing we did was that we set our death to be triggered by the animation frame of our animation. So if our animation is wrong, then we're accidentally triggering our falling. So I think if we say change animation to be just idle or whatever, idle up or whatever, idle down, and change our animation there, maybe we will stop triggering so much pain. This is a function. So let's see. Come on, no whammies. Animations, change animation. I think we just run it on the player, not the animation. That's not it. I mean, unless our animation is wrong here. Change animation. Player, change animation, falling. Yes. So that's probably what's called, if we do a change animation and see when we change to like a idle, or look, change animation, walk, idle, hyphen, direction, yeah. Idle hyphen direction. So yeah, like if we were to put a wrong animation in here, it would crash, right? Yeah. So that means idle down is the animation we're giving it, but we're still triggering a falling. Dude. Okay, so let's do, I want to say we don't trigger times played. I want to say that this might be wrong, but I thought we fixed that last episode. Let's see in our animation class, because it's like this whole body of code is what's screwed up, and it's like something we changed last episode, so I'm kind of suspicious now about our animation class. So we changed this so that yeah, we set our current frame to be equal to the total number of frames we have. Okay, so whatever our get diff was from yesterday on this line is kind of what I'm thinking might be responsible. I'm not remembering what it used to be though. If our current frame is equal to the amount of frames, then set it. I think it was, if it was equal to 0, then increment. So let's just see if that solves our reset issue. Okay. So that just gets us stuck in a loop. But yeah, okay. Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. Okay, if our current frame is equal to, well, yeah, so like how do we trigger how many times we've played this frame? And it's if our current frame is on the last frame. So the number of how many frames we have, if our current frame is that last frame, then go ahead and say that we've played that animation once. And then in our map, we're saying, okay, well, if we've played that animation once, we're gonna just change our animation to be equal to walk down. We're gonna play the hurt sound. We're gonna deduct our health. We're gonna set times played equal to 0 again for the falling. We're gonna reset our fall timer. We're gonna reset our Y position. We're no longer falling. We're in the graveyard. We set our current frame. Oh, maybe that's screwing something up. I'm gonna just turn that off and see if it changes anything. Let's see. Okay, well now we got a weird flash. And our fall timer is still incrementing. That means we're still colliding with a pit, which is the weirdest thing to me. Now, where is this? We don't need to update our pits anymore. They don't have any update logic. But in our map, we're saying cycle through our pits. Where do we even use pit count for? Oh. Well, since we're flushing this in the graveyard trigger, that shouldn't matter that this is wrong. But by the time, yeah, okay. So this is just supposed to flush it if we're not colliding with any pits, which we are. It is getting set back to 0, but I don't know if it's because of this one or because of the other one. Let's leave it at 0 and see if fall timer still resets. Yeah, it does still reset. So this just isn't happening because our collision is wrong with our pit for some reason. Okay. Okay, I've got an idea. If we go into our pit class and we go back and add in a render for our pit, we can say set our color to red. So RGB R gets 255, 0, 0 on the GB, and 255 on the alpha. And then we do love.graphics.rectangle. And we give it a fill mode. And we give it an X and a Y, which would be our pit's X and our pit's Y, and a width and a height, which is our pit's width and our pit's height. Then, if in our map class, we go and actually render our pits, which we are rendering them already. So now we'll be able to see a red square anytime. Oh my god. Yeah, it thinks we're colliding with pits at all times. Well, no, because we're actually, we would only want to say render this pit if we're colliding with it. So we would say if v collide with our scene view player, that's when we would want to render the pit. Okay, let's try that. Hey Leva, good to see you, dude. Thanks for stopping in. I always like seeing that Jimmy emote. I don't get to see that one enough. Okay, so we got the pit collide. Okay, so our pit collide isn't the issue here because we would be rendering a red square if that were colliding over and over. So our fall timer is getting incremented regardless of a pit collision, which should be impossible. Yeah, Jimmy is my gecko that's right over here. I was thinking about setting up a Jimmy cam, but she's actually like just, and Jimmy's a she. I named Jimmy before I could determine the gender. But yeah, Jimmy's named after the Academy Award-winning director or cinematographer Jimmy Chin, who filmed Free Solo, because crested geckos are arboreal and they like to climb, and because she has like a white strip on her lip. So I called her Jimmy Sour Cream Chin, because it looks like she got sour cream on her chin. So Jimmy Chin is like a two-part play on words for Jimmy Chin, the cinematographer, and Jimmy's white chin. Yeah, you know, my girlfriend's got a extra webcam from work. It's not what you think, but we have an extra one, so I'm gonna put that. If the cord reaches, I'm gonna set up a Jimmy cam. So we'll see. We'll see. What the heck is this? Is pit collide? What are we doing? What is this? Is pit collide? But yeah, I mean, this proves that our collision detection isn't, or our pit collide function isn't quite broke, but that doesn't explain why we keep incrementing. Yeah, we don't even have a pit collide anymore. So this, I mean, we have our own pit collide function now. So let's go see where fall timer's incrementing, and let's just do this different because this is clearly wrong. Anytime we increment this fall timer, you know what? Like, why? Yeah, why? This we just tested was working correctly, Therefore, we weren't colliding with the player, so therefore, how are we incrementing the fall timer? That's what I really don't get. If our fall timer is greater than the threshold, become falling. Okay. We set our fall timer to 0. See, but we move our player X and Y, which would therefore stop us from colliding with any pits. So maybe we just add... I mean, I think I can fix it pretty easily, but I want to fix the symptom, not the problem, or the cause, not the symptom. Because I don't know why we would be incrementing our fall timer, because we're not actually colliding with a pit. So we go through every pit. Oh, I think I just figured it out. Well, let's walk it through. So like, we've got 2 pits. Well, yeah, let's try it on the scene with 1 pit and see if it's still jacked. It is. So our fall timer is just being triggered. Dude, it's twofold weird, because every nest of this function shouldn't be executing. You know, like we are cycling through our pits every frame, okay, but we are not colliding. Our pit is not colliding with the player, and that the absolute value of the difference of the pit and our player is not, well, hold on, is not smaller than the proximity fall. Yeah, so like the difference in our X and Y would have to be smaller than a small number, which is like, it's 2 or something for our proximity fall. Let me just try to change this proximity fall to a smaller number, and we'll see if it changes anything here. No. This is so jacked up. I'm like really stumped at why this is happening. I'm just gonna move. Maybe, do we move this before? I don't think it would matter if we do it before we tween or after. But that's like the only weird thing I'm seeing, is that we do it after the tween. So like we modify our player's X and Y. So let me just check this maybe before we tween and see if that changes anything. No. So let's just take this all the way outside of the... Well, that wouldn't change anything. If we take it outside of where it was in this collide function, we still need to cycle through all the pits and check for our position versus our pit position. So if we just pick a different way to increment our fall timer, maybe we can fix it, but that's the kind of band-aid shortcut I was talking about. I didn't want to just kind of fix, but let's just say actually maybe we can say something like maybe we can say maybe we can flush our fall timer here. My goodness. And maybe just see player.fallTimer gets 0 if we are not here. I don't know. Let's see. This is weird. So our fall timer is still incrementing. And you know what? I actually might be screwing myself a bit. When I do grep search like that, it doesn't actually reload the whole state of the code base. So I think I might have been missing a certain fall timer that, oh my gosh. Well, no. Yeah, we're not missing any. Let me just, for craziness, set this to like a negative number. And we'll see if that buys us some time. Okay. So that does buy us some time. It doesn't fix the freaking fall timer bug, but we should be free to walk around. We shouldn't be falling at this point because, oh, are we flushing our graveyard? Yes, if our graveyard timer is greater than 2. Okay, so we should be, but we're not able to walk. I don't get it. We should be able to walk here. We should be out of the graveyard. Safe from fall is now nil. Falling is false. Okay, but what about our graveyard? Let's print up whether or not we're in the graveyard here. Yo, nice win, K-Tron. Okay, graveyard false. We should become graveyard when we move there, and then it should get flushed after 2 seconds, and it is not. So our graveyard flush isn't working, but if we are in the graveyard in our map, we increment a graveyard timer. If our graveyard timer is over 2, we're no longer in the graveyard. Oh, this isn't self, this is scene view player.graveyard. Okay, so now we should move out of the graveyard. Okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, 2 seconds and then we should walk. Okay, nice. But, okay, and now our fall timer is that weird. Let me see if we turn off our negative fall timer, if that might be fixed now with our graveyard getting flushed, but I don't think so. That is wild. Well, I'm tempted to just set this fall timer to like -2 and then we just don't have the bug and then and then move on. Well, I don't know why we keep incrementing the fall timer when we're not colliding with a pit. I've looked at the code, I feel like 50 times, and I don't know why it's doing that. So I think what I want to do now is say we only render our player if we're not in the graveyard, and then we change our graveyard to be actually off screen so we don't accidentally collide with any other objects or entities. And then after the graveyard timer gets triggered, like once we're no longer in the graveyard, we'd want to run a or we would then potentially move our players.x to be equal to the checkpoint positions, which we made every 3 seconds we save our player's position, as a checkpoint positions. So we can say scene view player dot checkpoint positions dot x. So I think we should be able to say something like this. Dang, dude. What are you trying to buy, dude? What are you trying to buy? You're using it all, dude. Were you able to do it? I didn't even see your slots go. Okay, so we're going to set our player X to be equal to the checkpoint positions X. Checkpoint positions. I think that's right. There it goes. There it goes. Yeah, I didn't see it go. Oh. Oh. That's rough, dude. That's rough. I'll give you all some money for some slots. Okay, so our checkpoint positions is our player's position from 2 seconds ago. But I'm spelling it wrong because I'm not finding it anywhere. So it is in our player class. And it is checkpoint positions. Yeah, what the heck? Checkpoint positions, capital P. Checkpoint positions. Okay, yeah, and we're setting it equal to be, yeah, every 3 seconds. Okay, so checkpoint positions.x, that should be it. And then our y, and then and actually we should only do this if we're not in the graveyard at the very least, because we don't want to pull a position where we were just in a hole. So we'll say if not self graveyard, then we'd increment our counter, and then checkpoint positions X gets updated. We reset the counter. Okay, so now when we do our graveyard trigger, we want to reset our graveyard. Actually, for right now, we'll keep it at 64 and Y, or 64 and 0. So let's see. Okay, boof. Okay, we're in the graveyard. In 2 seconds, we move to the checkpoint position, which happened to be right in the freaking hole. So if we were to look up what our last positions were, what our checkpoint positions were, let's see, because if we wait here for like a couple seconds, our checkpoint positions get set here, and then if we fall fast, we should reset to where we were, not to this hole. What the let's print up our checkpoint positions, because that's not right. Checkpoint positions, and we'll print it up at 35. Okay. Wow, we got just such a mess right here. Okay, so look, our checkpoint position is updating every 3 seconds with whatever position we are. So that should be where we're respawning after a death. But if we get the timing wrong, okay, so it should set. Why did it do that? Oh God. Why? Like, it makes sense now that that's the checkpoint, but when we weren't in the graveyard... Oh, lordy. Okay, so look, we'll wait here so we know our checkpoint's outside the hole. Then we'll hurry up and fall. Ooh. Yeah, okay. So it's because the fall animation takes about 3 seconds to trigger, plus the timer. So let's go to our checkpoint positions and just give it a couple more seconds. Or like 2 more seconds. So we'll say from 5 seconds ago. Now, we also don't want to do this if we're colliding with any pit, because if we're colliding with a pit, that's a value we don't want to save as a checkpoint position because it is a dangerous area. So we can say we only increment our counter if we're also not colliding with any pits. So we can do for all of our pits. But our pits are in our... crap. Our pits are in our current map. So we'd have to say sceneview.currentMap.pits. Do. And we can say if not v collide with the player, which we can just put self. If not collide with the player, then go ahead and increment our counter. And then if our counter is bigger than 5, and it can only become bigger than 5 if we're not colliding with a pit, well, this gets a little jacked up because we've got multiple pits on some pages, so maybe this isn't the way to do it. We would want to only assign this if we're not currently colliding with a pit, but yeah, again, we have multiple pits. So on the first pit, it would go through and say, oh, we're colliding with that pit, so let's not increment counter. But then we get to the second pit and we're not colliding with that, so it'd go ahead and increment counter, therefore putting the dangerous position into our checkpoint position. So I know we did at one point have a part where we're saying if pit count is 0, then go ahead and do it. So maybe we can do the similar thing here where we give ourselves a local pit count, set it equal to 0, and then we cycle through, and anything we are colliding with, we actually just increment our pit count, and then only if pit count is 0, meaning we haven't collided with any pits on that frame, then we would go ahead and increment that counter. And otherwise, we would just reset our pit count to 0. Well, that doesn't matter. It'll get set to 0 after on the next iteration there. So now we should be not saving a checkpoint if we're colliding with a pit. So let's see. Let's get one checkpoint here. And then let's collide with a pit. And we shouldn't save another checkpoint. Okay. Now when we respawn, what the heck did we just do? What just happened? We just teleported in the cabin, which is weird. Okay. So checkpoints getting updated. Let's make our checkpoints get updated faster so we can make sure that this isn't updating if we're colliding with a pit. So it should update every second now. We get a checkpoint. But if we're colliding with a pit, it shouldn't update. Yeah, and it looks like it's not. And then, why? Why is it setting us back to the freaking pit? Because our safe checkpoint is nowhere near that pit. It's the Y0 where we're up there. But it's resetting us to the pit for some reason. why is our X and Y getting reset to the pit's location? What is going on? Now, this is like, yeah, this is the Y that the X and Y that we're resetting ourselves to if we get sent to the graveyard, which is currently on screen so we can debug this stuff. And then also we're saying, okay, by the time you're in a graveyard, go ahead and get sent over there. So where the hell are we sending our X position to be equal to the pit position? Because this is a safe position. And that's not what's causing us to go in the pit. And this isn't causing us to go in the pit. Yeah, this is up on Git. There is a current build, but it's from like a couple weeks ago. Someone actually just submitted an issue with it, which I didn't know existed, but I did find that issue. But it's solved in this current build, but I haven't uploaded that as a build release. So by the time I get the pits working stable, I'm going to be recording the channel trailer. And then I think at that point, I'm going to snapshot a new version release so that I can release a new executable build with all the different tiles, instead of the one that's on there now is just a bunch of random sand for all 100 screens, or most 100 screens, but now we actually have more tiles than that. I'm really stumped by what's causing us to just respawn in the pit. I'm really stumped by that because we're not doing... Why would it do that? Why would it reset our position so weird? So like, I get we get sent to the graveyard, but as soon as we're not in the graveyard, we get moved. We get moved back to the pit, and I don't get it because we don't even ever move other than the tween. Yeah, other than the tween, we don't move our player's X to the pit, so it's got to be something in the tween that is throwing us off. So I don't exactly know how the tween is screwing us, but it's got to be, because that's the only time we're associating the pit's X with our X. And that is the one thing, we did have a if not safe from fall, tween our value. And that was probably the ghetto fix I added to stop us from doing that. But let's do this. This is in the map, so maybe we only do this. Well, shit, man. I don't know. I don't know what would cause this to screw us up, but let's add that some sort of tween allowed or something. And if we're in the graveyard, the tween is not allowed. I don't know. I don't know what else would fix this. And what's so weird is that this only runs if we're colliding with a pit, right? But so how would it be moving us from the graveyard to the pit if this is causing it? If this is causing it, it would mean that we're already colliding with the pit. So what the hell? Let's just add a player tween allowed, just so we can do something to hopefully fix this, just to see if tween's allowed, then go ahead and tween it, okay? And what we'll do is we'll initialize this tween allowed to be true upon player initialization. but we will only flush it once upon the first graveyard set, and we'll see if we get that weird issue. Tween allowed gets true. You can go ahead and tween us. And we only set this to false once upon a graveyard trigger. So we say, you know what? We trigger our graveyard. Go ahead and deactivate tween allowed. No longer allowed, Mr. Tween. And now let's see if it janks us up. Let's see. I mean, we just straight disappeared. We went off screen to the right and down like 6 frames. I don't know why. And also, we're not tweening. Oh my god. Okay, well, let's see. What the fuck? Why right here? Why 64, 64? Where are we setting our freaking X and Y to 64? Oh. Yeah, see, like I knew we were setting our X to 64, but why our Y? We don't have anywhere that's saying our Y gets 64. Let's just change our X here. Yeah, let's say, you know what? If we trigger our graveyard's going to put us there at that 64, and then let's delete these two and see if it screws up. Now, tween allowed is still being turned off. What the hell? Why do we go? And it's like, it's only 64 because there's like a cabin here that pushes us. So I think it's setting us... Oh, it's setting us to 0. Okay, so if we set ourselves to like 68 or something right here, just to see if that was why it was 64, because of the collision detection. We'll just say 68, and then we'll try collision here. Well... Not here, not here, not here. At our other one. Yeah. Okay. So graveyard. Okay, well. Does that mean our last... What the fuck, man? Does that mean our last checkpoint was... Okay, our checkpoint was 64, 64. So let's get our checkpoint to be something other than that. Then we'll hurry up and run in there. And then we will... Okay, what the fuck? Okay. So, like, there's a... You know, we get moved to a position when we're in the graveyard, which is gonna be off screen. But right now, when our graveyard timer is over 2, we're supposed to set our X and Y to be a checkpoint position. Oh, that's why we did a freaking X and X instead of an X and Y. That was not the fix. Right here. Okay, so now we're setting our X and Y. Okay, so let's see if checkpoint positions is working now. Are we still doing 1 second checkpoint? Yeah, okay. But we aren't updating our checkpoint if we're colliding, so we should be able to respawn right before we fall into this hole. So like move here, and then there's the graveyard, and then we should get reset to the checkpoint, which is not there. Why? let's just for now, if we get moved into the graveyard, and I don't get why we have to. Like if we don't put an X and a Y here, and we just say, okay, well, upon a graveyard trigger, go ahead and move our X and Y, and this would be moved to our screen width limit. I don't know. Let me see. We should move to the graveyard, but see, it flashed and then it moved us. And it's not until we kind of say, okay, well, if we're in the graveyard, go ahead and like permanently put our X at 64. Does it actually keep us somewhere? What the heck, dude? Okay. We're gonna set our graveyard off screen, but let's see what happens. Okay. It put us off screen, but it didn't reload us at the player checkpoint position. So what I'm gonna do is just try to load us in at whatever, 64 or we'll do X is gonna be, we'll just say 0, 0, and it should plop us wherever it can on the left side of the screen, right? So let's see. We fall, we graveyard, 2 seconds pass, and we should be plopped right there. Yeah. Okay. So does that mean if we put our tween, if we reset our tween allow, does that mean we get reset? Like, it's one thing to just debug our checkpoint position reset, but it's another to find that tween bug, because now we're only allowing a tween. Like, we would need to re-allow a tween right here, right? So we would say player.tween allowed now, so that we can actually fall into a hole again. But every time we fall, we should be spawned in that safe spot where we start. Let's see. Okay, 2 seconds pass. We restart, and we can fall again, and then 2 seconds pass. We come back. Okay. So that looks like pretty right. So this should put us 2 seconds and then the left side of the screen again, because we gave it a 0. So let me go ahead and turn off our pit render. Now, instead of commenting this out, I want to comment out where we actually render the pit in our map. It should be v:render right here. So look, yeah, we'll just comment out the actual render. Okay. So now we can escape a pit. We can fall into a pit. We die for 2 seconds. We come back. And we can fall in a pit. We can escape a pit. Well, he didn't escape that time. Let's see if we can escape. Yeah, we can escape. And then we can also just get pulled in. We still have like a weird flashing going on. And why is that? That makes sense actually, because we're in the graveyard. We should yeah, the graveyard. Okay. So we should only do a trigger if we're not in the graveyard, which I thought we did yesterday. Upon the event trigger, event. Where is our event dispatch? This. Oh, look. Not if we're not falling, if we're not graveyard. Okay, so now we should not be able to walk off screen when we're graveyarded, but we render. Okay, well, let's go into our player class and make sure we don't render us. But what sucks is, like, it's going to cause more bugs if we don't fix that position. I know why that's happening. It's clamping us to the rightmost legal position, but it shouldn't be updating our animation if we're in the graveyard. So I think that's in the player idle state maybe. We don't want to change to a walk state if we are in the graveyard. So that's not the right one. We don't have any... Oh, it's in a player idle state, not an entity idle state. Okay, so here we don't want to change state to player walk unless we are not in the graveyard. So if not falling and not in the graveyard, then we will go ahead and update to walk. So now we should, it might still change our position though, but we just won't be walking now. Oh, it doesn't. Okay. Okay, so that's good. And now, dude, why is it the same frame? I think we have to reset our current frame to 1 or something, because we keep flashing for some reason. Like the very first frame of falling, we're flashing. Well, that time it didn't, of course. Let's see. See? Why that? Why that time? See, it flashed that time. Okay, what the heck? Why the flash? Okay, proximity. Okay, those do... I think those are a decent value. Let's make sure our animation class is resetting times played based on, yeah, which current frame. But we also want to set, if we're at the last frame, do we want to put... I think we just need to set our current frame to 1 upon a change to falling. So maybe we do this animation refresh once we change to fall so that we get the very first frame each time. So maybe here when we do a fall trigger, then we also refresh this animation. So we say player, it was on the animation itself, so we need to go to the dot animations and go into the falling animation and run our refresh function on it. And now maybe we won't be flashing. Well, no, that's just keeping us. Yeah, we'd only want to do this once. So unless we flush our fall timer right here, which, why wouldn't we? Our fall timer is where? It's in our player. So let's say, okay, well, if we've triggered a fall, our fall timer gets reset anyway. And then fall timer won't be greater than the threshold, therefore we would only refresh this once and we'd only become falling once. So let's see. Oh, it's because our fall timer is so small. Yeah, fall timer, yeah, is like 0.3. Okay, so I mean, what if we just refresh? if we look at our animation class, the refresh, you know what, instead of refresh, I think maybe just, no, we can't just change the current frame because that will, I know, his little glitch disco party. Yeah, we need to, I mean, I actually don't know what the issue is because I can't print up the debugging. Let me see. I did Google a config for potential console rendering of debug info. So let me pull that up and see if I can't get that working. And if I can't get it working right now, we'll figure something out. But I don't have it. It's on my Mac. But let's see. I think it was called like IO set vbuff. Lua Windows subsystem for Linux, I think, is screwing it. Console print error. I saw someone say, I think it was io.setVbuff gets true or something. Or you know what? Maybe in my conf, I had... I thought I had a console false. Maybe that's what's been screwing me. Let's try to put in our map, we'll do not a love.graphics.print, but a literal just print. And we'll just put a string here just to see. So if we run this, oh, there we go. We do have printing. Okay, so that was my bad. When I went to go install mob debug, I screwed that up. But now we can print in the console here, so we can print up what's actually happening in our animations to hopefully see what the hell's going on with our disco party. But that's okay. Okay, so the issue here is what we sometimes flash. Sometimes we don't. Yeah, okay. So let's go into our falling animations and just print up what our falling animation is. So we'll go here and we'll say print, and we'll do an inspect so we can deconstruct that table. And the table we're looking at is our players' animations, but not just that, the specific falling animation. And we'll just print the whole thing and see if we can read it. And let's make sure we've got our closing parentheses, and now we should be able to print it. Okay, it's a little jacked up, but yeah, it's like since it's like flipping out, I can't really stably read it. And now I can't access the game, but let's see. Oh god. Maybe if I'm not in full screen, it might play a little nicer. No. I mean, it's close. Where's the current frame? I don't even see the current frame. Oh, current frame 1. See, current frame 10. Current frame 10. So it's on the last frame. So I think any time, yeah. So now when we go, okay, so that's why it's flashing, is because the current frame is still set to 10 on the fall. So once we go to graveyard, we need to set our current frame for our falling animation to be equal to 1, and then that should fix the flashing bug. That would make sense why it was only flashing on like the second and past time. So once we do our graveyard, what's that, graveyard trigger? yeah, we would want to come in here and we would say, okay, go into our player animations and go into our falling animation and go into the dot current frame and change it from 10 back to 1. And then we shouldn't flash. Let's see. Okay, 2 seconds dead. We respawn. I didn't see a flash. Yeah, I didn't see a flash. That looks good. So now what's left to do is to get the checkpoint positions actually moving our player, because like right now we just set him to a certain location, which is in the top left. Which, dude, what just happened here? This is the heck? There we go. Yeah, not upon the graveyard trigger, but upon... What just happened there? Yeah, wherever we're setting this crap, we want to set this to our last... this one's fine. Well... Okay, no, we have to fix this. It's just that... There's some weird stuff going on with our clamping. If our player's out of bounds, we clamp it to be just inside of bounds. So when we move our graveyard over here, we need to go to our clamping and only do it if we're not in the graveyard. Boundary limit entity clamping. That's just for... Okay, side edge buffer player. Where are we using that elsewhere? Edge buffer. Probably could have named that better. We want to look for our player clamping here. That looks like it's the entity clamping for a gecko. And this looks like... Do we do it in the player walk state, maybe? I don't see it. Yeah, I think it's in our entity. Wow. Yeah, maybe it's just in our entity class. I really don't know. It should be using a math.min and math.max. Okay. Yeah, it's not here. Okay, well, we're close. We're close. We have a mess. We added a graveyard timer. We got some debugging working on Windows, which is nice for the console, albeit ugly. Yeah, we're able to now set us to the graveyard, give us a sec, and then respawn us. So that's good. We just need to work on respawning us to the checkpoint positions, which is harder than I thought for some reason. So we took out our collide function from being a field in our pit objects to being just a function on our pit objects that we run against our player. And we took out our save from fall because I didn't know what I was talking about with that. And then we tweaked our pit proximity fall and our fall timer threshold so that we can escape the pit. We removed our empty frame from our falling animation, and then we only update our animation if we're not in the graveyard. And we're currently spawning us to be not at our checkpoint positions, but at like a 0-0. So that's like almost working, but we are getting there. We'll commit with a message saying we did a bunch of random stuff. We have working falling in pits with graveyard. but we need checkpoint resets or checkpoint respawns still. So yeah, so tomorrow we will hopefully be working on those checkpoint respawns, and then we might get a little further. So I'm gonna look at somebody to raid here on the team. But thanks everyone for watching. I think it'll be fun to raid out. If anyone wants to stay for that. I need to bookmark my team so that I can find people to raid. We'll just raid Tom Millman here. Looks like he's doing some, what, Godot stuff? Tom_Millman. Sweet. All right. Well, hey, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll get this figured out soon, and then I'll be recording the channel trailer. I know I've been saying that, but then also I'm going to have some developers on the channel talking about some projects and or game stuff that they're working on. So I'm hoping to do like one a month or so where I have an hour of an interview with a developer, either game dev or web dev developer, and I just kind of talk to them and show what kind of tools they use, what kind of projects they build. So that'll be starting to happen in the next week or two. I've got 2 people lined up, and I think it's going to be really cool. So I've got 1 web developer lined up, and I got 1 game programmer lined up. And the game developer made this game that is like really stunning. So I'm really excited to have him on and pick his brain about it. So I'll keep everyone posted about when that's going to be. I'm probably going to record it first and then I'll stream it because it's too hard to share screen and stream with 2 different people on Twitch. So I'll keep everyone up to date on that, and I think it'll be a fun addition to the channel. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you all have a great night, and I hope you all have fun with the raid. Peace out. Thanks for watching.